Maria, first of all, congratulations. It's so thrilling to be here with you to celebrate the launch of your book. You're finally holding it in your hands. It's such an honor to be here with you, to celebrate with you, and to have this conversation about all your amazing insights. Before we get into the book itself, I want to take a little step back. I want to go back to where it all started. You and I met in a beautiful lake house in Highland Lakes. It was July 2022, I believe. What was going through your mind? What do you remember about that book kickoff ceremony that we had together?
I remember you, fortunately, and the lake, and my husband and my son swimming in the lake, and we are sitting together where we busy with strategies and putting stickers on the paper. And I remember that mixed feeling, On one side, I remember that, it was so exciting to think and actually start discussing the structure of the book and my ideas. And on the other side, it was doubt, how dare I? I'm not a native speaker. I am newly immigrated person, and I thought that I'm not even a scholar, right? Who am I to write a book?
I remember you had a lot of those doubts. I remember talking through them. What helped you to push through them and to move past those doubts?
My personality. I think that the idea of getting clarity, it was my commitment to build a structure, to bring clarity first of all, for myself. You remember, it wasn't about the leadership integrity framework. It was about leadership presence and executive presence. And I was fairly curious about this phenomenon because every time people came to me and asked, Maria, will you coach me around my executive presence? I always said, of course, what's that? And we needed to figure out what exactly this executive presence is. And I decided that if I figure it out and write clearly in a structured manner, it may help others to understand it too. Executive presence.
Yes, what is this intangible? And I'm glad you brought that up because that is where the framework was born. You mention, and you talk about this in the book, how when we first met, you couldn't answer this one specific question. You couldn't answer it clearly. And that question was, what exactly is executive presence and why do so many brilliant leaders struggle with it? Why is that?
Because we do not know what it is, right? And we believe that some skills, some your clothing, your pose, your posture or the way you enter the room may help you to be more present. And I work with so many newly appointed executives, and the question that they struggle with, I know I am a leader. I know I deserve this position, but I do not feel like one in this particular room, or I do not believe I belong. And I believe that I need to shout to be heard, right? So it's a lot of things that we couldn't figure out at that point, and then we realized that it's not about how you behave. It's about who you are, what you actually want people feel and think near you, and how they think near you, I believe. And then when you're asking questions, what we are building together, how we're growing together, and stepping back, allowing space for others to see the system, our systems we are in.
It's funny because as you were talking about executive presence, I noticed myself saying, let me sit up a little straighter and push my shoulders back. Is that what's important, or is the quality of our conversation the most important thing?
I think that because we stop leaning into this space, we are leaning back, allowing it.
Spaciousness.
Yeah, spaciousness.
Having this question around executive presence, there was an adjustment in your writing. Can you talk a little bit about how you noticed your writing evolve from our earlier work together to where you are now with the book?
Should I start with cruelty of early readers or?
If you want to go there, if you want to go there.
Okay, let's think about executive presence. So when we decided to write a book, I researched, and I wanted to build a system, a structure for us just to get focused on what we're working on. I played with like some traditional approaches. For example, leading self, leading others, leading organizations. I try to explore. I will not jump right now into the structure. It's more about executive presence. And then when the four quadrant structure appeared, and I started talking and showing it to my colleagues, I heard that, Maria, it looks like we are already talking about something bigger than executive presence. And this is how it transformed into something else when I started seeing the impact on the, like, not just on your presence. Presence is a part of this framework, but it's not exactly only about executive presence. And I would even say that executive presence doesn't exist without other elements of this framework.
We'll get into that.
Yes.
We will talk about that. I'm glad you brought that up. I want to just share back with you that I observed this shift in your writing when you moved from some of the early feedback that you received, and I have to share that there was something about your words and the evolution of your writing. Something felt more alive, is how I would describe it. Did you feel that change too?
It's difficult to say, when we're separated with this book, and it's not in my head anymore, and it's on the paper, and it's printed out, and I already have my marks to navigate the book. I think that it's difficult now to exactly remember all, like, the process. Some big moments, absolutely. Some tiny moments. I even cannot say this is my book. The same happened when I gave birth to my kids, and at some point when people say, "Oh, your kids," I couldn't understand what it means. They're mine. Yeah, of course I have certificates. The same here. I see my name on the title, like on the page, and what it means. It's my book. Absolutely. My thoughts about when people write their reviews or share their thoughts and their emails with me, like, Maria, this is what I'm reading in your book, and they quote some words, I think, oh, truly, my words.
Your words. Your words.
I check, yes, they are mine.
That's beautiful. We've been talking about this book, Leadership Integrity Framework. Let's get into what the framework is. Let's break it down for people. We want to know what these four quadrants, these four components are, because you've broken leadership integrity down into these four parts. Let's take them one by one. Talk to us a little bit.
I would say I haven't broken it into four parts. I connected four parts together. So it's about integration. And I mentioned already that I considered different structures, right? How to bring it to like a particular system. And I thought initially about leading self, leading others, leading organization. It didn't work for me specifically because I didn't think about this idea in terms of hierarchy. It's like you're learning to lead yourself first, then others, and then you like going up till whatever you can grasp. So what I wanted to see, I wanted to bring unity to this and emphasize that we are working on all four parts in the same moment. So these four quadrants, I took the idea from Ken Wilber's integral theory, and one quadrant is your internal self and its inner side of leadership. Another quadrant is about your external, your behaviorals that may be observed. The third one is about how you build your relationship with others, and really like create cohesive teams. And the fourth one is like collective external in Ken Wilber's terms, how we communicate and how we see and experience the systems we are part of. So I gave them specific names, purpose. It's not something that you will find in a dictionary, right? It's not purpose is. It's purpose that includes a few elements. It's just a name, right, for our shared language, I would say. So we have purpose, we have presence. I promise the presence will be here. Partnership, because it's all about relationship that we're building, and perspective, because it depends on the perspective that you have. And I will talk about this later too. So these are the 4 quadrants that I brought together. And if you remember the image inside, I put leadership effectiveness.
Can you share more about why leadership effectiveness is right at the center?
Yes, I think that that kind of leadership effectiveness that I envision for my clients and for leaders, sustainable leadership effectiveness. I can say that you may be effective short term for sure. If you want to stay focused on your well-being, on well-being of your team members and communities around you, you need to think about sustainability.
So this is a lovely overview of these 4 components. As you mentioned, they're integrated together. They're not separate and distinct. I wonder if you could bring to life the framework a little bit more for us with an example. You include a lot of examples in the book.
Yes.
And I wonder if you could share one with us to help us grasp onto it a little bit.
Yes, let's consider one of the most common examples. People come to a new role and they're already very successful, they're great strategists, and I hear it a lot in our stakeholder meetings that now you can think bigger, you may be more strategic, you can think enterprise-wide, write your role. And it's very confusing. It's very confusing. It's so easy to follow this script. I would prefer we followed one today. So, but you need to decide for yourself. You need to go through this, like, check through the framework, what really matters for me. Especially when no one is expecting anything from me, no one is watching. What is my why I still continue doing this, right? Then you think about what I want to, how I want to shop, what I want other people feel, how consistent I am. Do I create conditions for trust, right? And how I manage my emotions. Do I hide them, suppress them, or I process them? Do I react or I respond? Then you look at partnership. Do I perform to impress, to manage your perception, or I really build my relationship with you? What matters? Am I ready to face a conflict, or I will avoid it till the moment it's already too late to address it in the normal way? And then you think about that, okay, if I make one step back, what becomes visible? Like, what am I missing? So this is the check for all 4 quadrants.
You talked about how these 4 quadrants reinforce one another. So you might not like this question, but I would love if we could take them apart just briefly and look at each one distinctly, maybe do a little bit of a deeper dive into each one to understand. So does that sound okay for you?
Yes, it's okay. I can just say generally, if I remove any of the 4 quadrants, you still can. The question is the cost for you and for the system. Of course, you can push harder. Will it be sustainable? I'm not sure. Will you be happy? I'm not sure. Will you be proud of yourself in that moment? Maybe, maybe not. What is the long-term impact that you're creating? This is another question, right? So we think about this. I put 7, would maybe recognize 7 elements in each quadrant, and there may be 9, might be 9 or 5. It just was something that I decided, okay, let's make them equal. Let's address 7 of them. They're not new. And as mentioned before, I built the framework on the solid theory, but I didn't create theory itself. I mean something new. I just put it in a particular manner that allows me to keep it in mind when I am coaching and working with my clients, and it helps leaders to stay focused and have this kind of instrument to check against 4 quadrants for a better and more sustainable leadership.
When you explain the leadership integrity framework in the way that you have, it seems really logical to me. I'm all in, I'm bought in, but I would imagine that for a lot of leaders struggling with leadership effectiveness in some way, it might be difficult to figure out where to start, right? It might feel a little bit daunting. Do you have any recommendations for where leaders can start with this?
Yes, I have a recommendation where to start. Start with one question. Who am I? This is from a purpose perspective. How I want to show up to make this who I am real. This is from presence perspective, or what we are building together, or how we are growing and building together. This is from partnership perspective. And what am I not seeing? This is from the perspective.
So I want to pivot a little bit to talk about your own personal journey. We've been talking about the framework. We've been getting some insights into how leaders can leverage this framework. But I want to talk about something you were very open with. In your book, you share that you had some struggles. You actually put in the book the email that you sent me in, I think it was July of 2025, about, in your words, you were spiraling. That's the word that you used. You were spiraling, and you were wondering if your book was worthy. You had gotten some early reader feedback, and it left you questioning things. Walk us through that moment.
I can walk us through that moment, but actually people can read about it in my book. Let me walk us through this morning. For this morning, you know how I love to be prepared. And at some point I understood that if I am too prepared, I will be frozen. And if something goes like in a different way that I didn't predict or didn't expect, I can collapse. And I will, I don't know, I decided that I'm a writer. This is what I am already can admit and what I mastered. But writing and speaking are 2 different skills. And I know that I'm still making grammar mistakes. I can mispronounce words. I write better than I speak, and I fairly was afraid to be exposed. And I thought that maybe I need a teleprompter or something, you know, just to read and make it perfect to deliver that exact meaning that I wanted to create. And then I went through my own framework. Who am I? Do I give some grace to what I have already achieved and done? Do I admit that I accomplished a lot and this is who I am right now, what I can do? How do I want to show up? I want to show up real, not perfect, but real and true for you, and show by example that it's possible and no one will die, I guess, watching this interview. I hope so. And from the partnership perspective, I thought about, do I create trust? Will I be trustworthy? And what actually I'm going to face in front of you and being honest with you and rely on your help, right? So you're leading our conversation, and I'm so grateful for this. From this perspective side, I thought, look, now This is my version 2025. In 2027, it will be the next version of me, right? So I'm still evolving, I'm working on it. And this is how my framework serves me when I can actually recreate it at any moment, like, and check my system against my own framework.
First of all, I want to thank you for your vulnerability and sharing all of that. I mean, what a gift, seriously. And this vulnerability that you just shared with us now is demonstrated throughout the book. You actually give another example. You lead by example with following your own framework. And you talk about in the book a situation where you were involved in an organization and leading an organization, and you needed to leverage the framework to help you think through navigating that situation. Can you talk a little bit about that?
I can, but I do not want. I mean, I wrote about this and my thought process in that moment. What I thought now, listening to your words that I am role modeling right now, I thought that I am teaching, but I am learning. And I'm learning from my work, from my clients. And there is something uniquely human and vulnerable when, for example, my client, a male executive, may say, I'm afraid. Or my female client may say, you know, Maria, I have a better question. What am I assuming about dynamics stating that I'm not heard only because I'm a woman? And I look at them and I think, oh my God, you're so brave. And I'm learning. Am I getting emotional? Phew. Okay.
It's okay. This is an emotional topic.
Yeah. Maybe it's especially vulnerable moment when you are coaching people who are leading others. And you create this ripple effect, right? And this is what I am discussing with them, discussing with you. It takes courage, we normally say. And I say, yes, you need courage when you do not have clarity. Then you need to just close your eyes and jump. We don't do this with my clients, with my leaders, and I do not do this in my book. I say in my book that leadership is hard. Working with people is difficult. It's a messy work, unpredictable. This is when things stop being complicated, they become complex.
Talk about that distinction. Talk about the difference between complicated and complex.
Complicated when you just need some expertise. Taxes, it's complicated to figure out how to fill, to file, to fill the forms and to submit and make it right. Or a lawyer, right? For example, you need to know the law to guide your client. It's complicated. When you are dealing with people, it becomes complex. It's very big, like, realization what you can control and what you cannot control. And you cannot control other people's reaction, their perception of you, by the way, and many other things that we connect to the human side of work.
One of the things that you talk about in the book is this invitation for leaders to, yes, ask this one question, right? You say, if you want an in, start with a question.
Oh, yes, I segue. Yes, I start with the question, with one, not all four. You know, trust your instinct. You know what deserves your attention right now. It's not get yourself overwhelmed.
You also talk about then running an experiment, right? So I have this question. What do you recommend in terms of how leaders can experiment?
First of all, you are an executive, right? Be curious and I do not know the right word for this, but just unleash your creativity and create an experiment, starting with some small things that you can do differently in any dimension that you have. And actually, now we're talking about the book and making the framework your own. It's not something that you need to follow. This is Maria's idea. This is how I am doing right now. You actually can close it and recreate your own, and make it your own experience.
So it's interesting you bring this up, because one of the things that I work with authors on when they're first starting in their writing process is think of your audience and what do you want your audience to know, to feel, or to do after they've closed your book. This is something that I recommend that folks think about early on in their writing process.
You asked this question.
So tell me, what do you hope that folks will feel or do differently as a result of reading your book?
I hope that when you close this book, you feel less alone. You feel that there is a way to feel better about yourself, about decisions you make, especially when you're making tough decisions. I think that you will close it with kind of impatience to try something new. I hope you will feel empowered. So this book says you can do this on your own. If you have a support group, wonderful. I'm very happy for you. If you decided to hire a coach, it's even better, go ahead. But even on your own, you have a tool to experiment with. Maybe another thing that you will feel when you close the book, that you will feel my respect for work that you're doing. And complexity of this work. And I'm just a beginner public speaker. I still get emotional.
It's okay, we're being human here, right?
Yeah.
I love that you express your emotion. Can you share what makes you emotional about this work? You care so much about this work.
Yes, I care. I think that what makes me emotional, when I was a leader, I didn't have that support. I knew that if I share my vulnerability, I will expose my weakness. I knew that if I'm not moving like a bulldozer, I will not be moving forward. You know, I wish I had this guide with me when I was leading people. I relied on my intuition. I didn't have a real tool that could allow me to find my footing again, or that will allow me to go back or move forward. You know, not going back. We're not going back. It's impossible. Moving forward with new learnings, with new instruments and new things to play with.
Thank you for sharing your vulnerability and your honesty with us. One of the things you know I love about you is your honesty. You're very direct. You're nothing if not direct.
Yeah.
And in the book, you actually state something that made me laugh the first time I read it. You said, "I didn't write this to be a bestseller."
I wish it was a bestseller, but it's not the point. Actually, I decided that it doesn't matter. Of course, every author, regardless what we are saying publicly, we want it to be bestseller, of course. But I believe in a ripple effect that every reader will create. If you're leading people, you will create this ripple effect. And everything that I put into this book, well, people across the communities. So I'm very good about this. I remember that conversation with my husband, Alexei, when I said, he mentioned that you have already achieved your goal. And I really accepted it with gratitude, but then my coaching self asked the question, what do you believe was my goal that I achieved? And he said, clarity. You wanted clarity, you wanted to have a system, you have it. And it's true, I have it. I have a system, I have clarity, I have something to share with people.
Good job, Alexei.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about this concept of vertical development. It's this idea, let me know if I get this correct. It's this idea that leadership isn't just about getting better at skills, but it's about fundamentally changing how you make meaning out of complexity. Why does that matter? Why does that distinction matter?
So when we talk about vertical development, it's not about being vertical, by the way. It's just the wrong name. And it's not the name I picked up for this, right? My name is Leadership Integrity Framework. This is what I am responsible for. So vertical, actually we are opposing it to horizontal is like acquiring more and more new skills, right? And vertical is your capacity to apply these learned skills in different scenarios, because leadership is very and highly contextual. You need to understand that context will define your behavior. It's not just who I am, like it's who I am. And I think that you cannot solve the next level problem staying at the same level of your thinking and seeing what is around you. So when we talk about vertical development, we're moving from clear question that early career managers ask, is it right or wrong? Is it black or white? We are moving to the direction from being an expert and being respected for my expertise. And this is how we get actually to the top. But then at the top, we need to restructure our relationship with our working environment, with our understanding of ourselves and others. So when I brought this framework together and then simplified it and like boiled down to 4 questions, just 4 questions to remember. What I wanted to do, I wanted to give you a tool when the questions is what will stay with you. Your answers will change. You are developing, you're already able to, you're already able to recognize shades of gray. You understand how you're building together with others, how they are growing when you allow them to do so. How can you in the future rely on them and move forward to this strategic thinking that we love so much. So this is what we are doing in terms of growing and moving forward. So growing, you will see how your responses to this question will change. And it's beautiful. Congratulations. You may say that my values changed. It's good too. So you are evolving, you understand yourself, your impact that you create, your relationship with others, and your impact on the bigger systems. And time will pass, but the questions will stay with you and will still be the same questions you need.
And that's one of the things that I personally love about the framework. You talk about how each of the quadrants integrates together, reinforces each other. It can appear complex, right? There's these 7 elements underneath each one. Let me do the math, right? But in your own words, you can simplify it. You can distill it down to these questions. That's an in for you to get started. And then you can allow the framework to grow with you as you grow.
And breathe. You know, you were talking and I thought that, and breathe and actually evolve with us, right? So who knows what will be next.
Maria, we're coming to the end of our time together, and I want to ask you about the process of writing this book. What did writing this book teach you?
Writing this book teaches me that maybe it's not that urgent to define yourself as an author first. And you can actually give some grace to these doubts and just start writing. You remember, right? I'm writing, I'm not a writer yet.
You've been saying that. You said that for a while.
But I'm writing. This is one thing. The second, remember why you're doing this. Remember, what is your why? Why did you decide to share this or with the world? Remember who you can rely on. And I'm very grateful for your support, and you know that you believed in me when I doubt myself way too much. It was like so dramatic for me that I wanted to stop. And you just said, take your time, reconnect to your core, go through your framework, and come back to reading. Just remember why you're doing this, with whom, in what way. We didn't touch this, but I write about this in my book. It's not academic that I wanted to be when I wanted to be read and I wanted to be seen in a particular manner, but I let it go. It was very therapeutical experience to write this book, letting go one thing after another and staying with the meaning, staying with my message, and acknowledge that it's an ongoing process.
So you mentioned that I was there to believe in you when you didn't believe in yourself. And I would be remiss if I didn't take a moment to pause and acknowledge that the opposite has absolutely been true. I'm so grateful for your friendship and for the work that we've been able to do together. And I'm really excited for where the journey will take us. It has been such an honor to have this conversation with you today, and I look forward to many more together. Thank you so much, Maria.
Thank you. Love you.
Love you. And congratulations
On the second book.
the launch. That's right, you have an essay coming out in another collection, but we are just so honored to get your wisdom, to be able to learn from you and alongside of you, and to share in the Leadership Integrity Framework with you. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Thank you.